Good morning, everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today, and thank you, Laura and the team, for inviting me. I really appreciate it. Funny, we were talking earlier before we all started about making sure none of us were actually going to do the Madonna thing on the way up the steps, and I said, please don't be saying that, because I'll be the first one then probably to do it. But anyway, yes, absolute pleasure to be here. I really want to bring some my experience to you from a point of view of what does collaboration mean to you as a business. We have heard some very important reasons why you should collaborate, and again, I suppose I want to share with you in terms of what does that really mean and how actually you should go about it. So what I want to do over the next 15 minutes is cover, I suppose, 7 very basic things, and I want to bring it back down to very basic things. So in terms of what do we mean, Invest NI, as collaboration, because that's very key to us in terms of the understanding of what is meant by collaboration. And then really some of the benefits that we see generically for companies who collaborate. So we've heard some of the benefits of collaborating from the visitor experience, but I want to share with you some of the benefits that actually for you as individuals and as a collective, as a business, what they would be to you as well. And then in terms of what really makes a successful collaboration, I've been in the collaborative network space now since 1994, and so there's lots of groups of companies that I have been working with over the years, and really it's some of those insights that has helped shape and inform how we really work with companies going forward, along with the team of other support and resources that we've got within Invest NI. So then there is also some documentation, and Julie had a wealth of the legal documentation, and that's an absolutely fantastic resource for you if you are going to work collectively together. But if you are going to think of collaborating, there's some very basic documentation as well that we would share with you, and that we've used. It's been really, really helpful in the past. And then I specifically want to just give you some insights into the actual support that we have available within Invest NI and how that's maybe relevant to you and how you might want to avail of that. And then I'm only going to touch very quickly on some possibilities, because you have experts in the room in this sector and you're all experts, so it's really just me looking at it from an external point of view. So really, I always like to start with an image, and whether this is the right image or not, I don't know. But really, from my experience in terms of a collaborative network, there's lots of reasons why you should collaborate, as I said, but really, it's not so easy when you go to start. And the one thing I would say to you, and I don't know, many of you have experienced that sometimes when you get round a table with a group of people with very individual personalities, with very individual behaviours, with very individual agendas, it's very difficult. And really what I have experienced is what I would term sometimes when people get together to do something is that it's a bit like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. So really what we want to try and avoid is Mad Hatter's Tea Party, and we don't want to waste anybody's time, energy, effort. We want to make sure that everybody is focused and on message. And really, I suppose for us, it's back to the thing that Laura was saying up, is actually join up in an imaginative way. So really, how can you join up in an imaginative way and leverage the knowledge and know-how that you've got around that table if you are going to sit together? So really, our definition of a collaborative network, and it is very important from Invest NI that we do have a definition, because there's a lot of bad press out there about people who have collaborated in the past and it has ended up known as a talking shop, and that is not what we're about, and it's certainly not what you should be about in terms of actually trying to make improvements. And as Laura said, that number of 65% of visitors that don't return to Northern Ireland, how can you collectively work together to actually ensure that that number changes from 65% for a better return rate? So really, in terms of a definition of collaboration, and what does it mean to us? Well, it is actually really about a collection of businesses who are working together to share their complementary strengths and capabilities. And that's so key. You have to share your complementary strengths and capabilities. And really, the other focus is that you want to do something that has a common goal. And we've heard already about some of those areas that you could work on that you have a common goal on. You all obviously have a common goal in improving tourism in Northern Ireland, but specific projects that you could collaborate on that have a common goal. And really, ultimately, we want to make sure that as a business, you're improving your bottom line. That's the key for us. It's not a talking shop. It's ultimately for you as a business to improve your bottom line. So I said I would share with you some benefits of collaboration. And for me, the one key thing is, as all of you know, that it's very difficult in this day and age to run a business when you need multiple levels of knowledge and know-how. And I think it was really interesting for me to listen to Julie from the point of view of the amount of legal knowledge that you need to know when you're operating in this space. And there are organisations like that ABTA there that you can use. But obviously as well, it's very difficult for you as a business to have all that knowledge and skill in-house. And that's one of the reasons why as well, we think that because knowledge is one of the primary drivers for growing a business in this day and age, it's one of the reasons why you really should consider collaborating. And also the market is getting so complex. The offerings that you have and the potential of offerings that you could have are quite diverse. And I suppose that's again one of the reasons why then you should consider it. And then really what we're saying, it's not just about the business. Your collaboration must involve all the relevant stakeholders. So for us, it is an opportunity to engage with universities, with stakeholders such as the local government and others that you feel are right to actually enhance your collective offering. When we look at it in a very basic point of view, it's not that my maths is really bad, it's just the fact that we realise that when you join more than two people together, that you are multiplying the return. So for us, it seems to be a very sensible way to approach some things in life. But I would say a note of caution, you really only should collaborate if you cannot do it on your own. And this is the only sector that I have experienced out of all the sectors that we work in, from those from the IT industry right across, that it is an area where you definitely have something that you can't do on your own, that really that bundling thing is definitely going to be that added value for you as well. I thought I would put some actual facts up because I know as well that it's very good to have some facts just to prove that really there is an evidence base of why people do collaborate, and it ranges from those that want to share their resources, whether it's financial resources or whether it's people resources, and also for those who want to actually share their knowledge in whether it's going into a market or in terms of developing their skills base. So it's not founded on just some assumption, it is definitely an evidence base. So really, for you as a business, and this, although this was carried out in 2001, I thought it was really interesting because it was based on a tourism sector. And when we talk about, I think we've heard the word cluster and we've heard the word collaboration. We talk about collaboration because that is the foundation of actually growing a region as a cluster. Clusters, as a lot of you may know, was based on a theory which Michael Porter developed in 1994, and it was ensuring that you would do something collectively together to create the competitiveness of your region. So if we are saying that actually we want you to work collaboratively, for you as a business, what does that really mean in terms of a benefit to you? So we heard about the fact that there is an opportunity to reduce risk. Most certainly a lot of the collaborative networks that we've dealt with, that if you are working collectively together, then you're sharing more knowledge and there is an opportunity for you to reduce the risk on your business. Particularly, and I keep going back to Julie because it was so poignant for me, in terms of I've been with groups of companies who actually, in terms of that whole legal structure, is quite complex, and therefore the more knowledge you share collectively together, the opportunity for you to reduce the risk. That creating economies of scale is really important, especially around the fact that you're all looking at the whole opportunity around bookings and sales, and also in terms of making sure you can possibly reduce the unit cost if you do something collectively. So there are many benefits to you as a business, and then in terms of actually making sure that you can go into the market collectively, and we've heard examples of that. But I've had experience as well with companies who maybe didn't realise that one of the things that would benefit them when they started collectively is that whole thing about the branding and their image and enhancing the quality. So if you're starting to work with companies collectively and you see they're doing something that's a really good quality standard, the tendency is that you will want to bring up and work your way up to the same quality standard as them as well. So from the point of view of actually having a positive impact as well on the region, one of the things that you may be familiar with is that a lot of the funding coming out of Europe at the minute is saying that it has to be relevant to the uniqueness of your territory. So no better way in the tourism sector is to develop a uniqueness which is relevant to Northern Ireland, and a lot of you are working very hard obviously to do that as well. So in terms of what makes a successful collaboration, well, one thing on my list really, irrespective of having all the other rules, regulations in place, the one thing that for us that actually makes a really good collaboration is that you trust each other. I have worked, as I say, with groups of companies, multinational companies, SMEs, but if you come round a table together and you don't want to be that Mad Hatter's Tea Party, you have to definitely have trust with each other. You have to know that whatever information you are sharing with each other is not going to be used in a different reason than what it's being shared in that context. So it is so important that you actually trust each other. The other thing for us is, as well, in terms of what makes a successful collaboration, is that you definitely have a focus on the market and a focus on the projects that you're doing collectively together. And really that you do have common goals. That's so important that when you come around the table that you're very clear on actually what it is you're there to do. And you have clear purpose and business opportunities that are defined and that you've all signed off and are happy with to go with. The one thing that we help companies with, and I'll come to that later on, is the fact that really from day one we would want to ensure that if you are working collectively together that you look at having clear ground rules and memorandums of understanding in place. And I refer back to the Mad Hatter's Tea Party to avoid that happening as well, because again, when you're working collectively together and how often you want to meet and what you're bringing and how you're bringing opportunities to the table, you need to have a clear understanding in terms of reference of how those opportunities will be managed and who is responsible for taking those forward. And it's back to as well, I suppose, having clear governance in place, so that you are all working to the same focus and working in the interests of the collective rather than in the interests of the individual. Our experience would tell us as well that every collaboration is like every good business, that it requires a leader. And if you have in a collective group a leader that is somebody that actually knows the space and the sector that you're in, that is half the battle in actually making a successful collaboration. So whether it is a particular person that is in a destination experience that can bring that to the table, or whether it is somebody that has experience from the point of view of actually working on legislation and they can bring that experience to the table. But that is so important. And the other thing then is you realise when you work collectively together, you're all very busy individuals, and therefore you need somebody to act as an independent, honest broker. And that's why we've had successful collaborations, because there's somebody that is acting on behalf of that collective group. So, and that's key, and we'll come back to that one as well. So setting up a collaborative network for us, and really what does that mean? Very simple, and the process of support that we offer from Invest in I helps take you through this process. We go back to introducing the relevance. The very first step, as in you all have already, I think, got a sense of collaborating on some areas within the tourism sector. So you know how important it is to have a relevance then to what it is you're going to do going forward. So we talk about 5 phases really of collaboration, but it's over roughly 12 steps. And this is a good friend of mine from New Zealand that actually developed this. So this is not our model, but it's something that we actually seem to adhere to, and it works for us. So really in terms of the prioritisation for your group, it is so important that you do prioritise the areas that you want to work in. Where are you going to get your first quick win? Because a collective group will only stay together if they see a win to them as an individual. They want to see a collective return, but the first thing is they'll want to see a return to the individual. So really, you need to prioritise what it is you want to do. And then there is a phase of initial analysis, and I know the Tourist Board have carried out a lot of analysis for you, and it's actually maybe leveraging some of that and sharing that collectively to understand what's useful and relevant to you. And then back to the point that it's forming that leadership group, so you need to have key leaders within your group. And then agreeing what would be your preferred future if you're working collectively together. That's really important, that you sign up to that vision of what it is you want to do in 1, 2, 3 years' time as a collective group as well. And for us, then, it's the project plan and it's the stepping stones, and really what are those milestones that you're going to put in place as a collective group as well, and launching it in the market. And there's so much support available in terms of helping you launch collective things into the market, and I'll refer to some examples later on of how some of our networks that maybe might be useful for you have carried that out. But it's always important as well to continue to do the relevance and horizon scanning and benchmarking. It's so important for you to make sure that you are ahead of the curve and you are continuing to keep the quality standard up of whatever it is you do. So as a collective group, that's much easier to do. And then there is an opportunity, obviously, if you are collectively working together, that you collaborate across those various collaborations. And that's been very successful for us in Invest in I from the point of view that we've had companies who are working in the health sector and companies who have worked in the digital space. And when those come together, the opportunity then for businesses is so diverse. And I suppose as well for you, in terms of you working collectively together and bringing people in who are maybe from the digital creative space, and I know that's already happened in some areas, that really that's where some new business opportunities can emerge. So in terms of documentation and support of collaborative network, really for us there is a lot of information available to you on our Invest in I, the NI Business Info website. It's useful information if you're starting out on a collaboration. It's not to the level of detail that Julie was referring to, so please, I mean, this is just at the beginning of you forming a collaborative network. And really, it does relate to rules of engagement, terms of reference, and things like that. So really, in terms of Invest in I, the actual hub of what it is Invest in I do, we provide 2 levels of support to collective groups, and those levels of support range from £25,000 maximum support for you to carry out as a collective group the scoping study, and that particular piece of work is actually where you will actually do your rules of engagement, your terms of reference. It will map out the capabilities of your network and will identify the gaps in your network that you may have, and therefore how your collaboration is going to benefit and if you are going to continue to work together. So as a result of that first phase, it's typically for us a 6-month project. Some groups, depending on the complexity of those groups, take longer or shorter. But it is typically for you to appoint an independent honest broker. And it's that person that will be responsible for working with you to actually agree the common goal, identifying the business opportunities, and making sure that they map out the capabilities and producing for you at the end of it all a clear project plan and a series of smart objectives if you want to go forward. So they give you that evidence base. So that's up to 50% total costs. And we do also recognise in-kind time from companies who are participating in a network. If you want to avail of that support, you have to have a minimum of 4 Northern Ireland companies. But you also must have 1 company that is an Invest in I client company. That's key for us. We have to have an Invest in I client company who's going to take the letter of offer from us. And the second phase then is once you have gone through that first phase, there is an opportunity to do a 2 to 3 year project of the collective group. And we offer support up to £250,000, which again is maximum of 50% total project costs. And it is for appointing that independent honest broker. And we do cover some additional costs, but mainly it's for you to appoint that independent honest broker, the person that has that technical expertise. But it has to be and should be always led by you as the private sector. So in terms of possibilities, I know Eleanor's going to be talking about the North Coast, so I'm not going to be getting in, but why might you collaborate? Well, you know, this whole tourism experience, as you know, brings forward so many opportunities for you. So whether or not you are bundling from the hotel side, from the cycling side, right through to the food side, the opportunity of you having a full package and experience for people that actually are bringing families here, as we said earlier, that actually will give that visitor the opportunity to return, then that's something that you collectively obviously can work on, and it's something that would be of interest and a benefit to all of you. The other thing though that I picked out, which I thought really from a point of view of you as individual businesses, what would you think of doing in relation to collaborating in the space of green and green accreditation? Some groups of companies that I've worked in have saved their energy costs by 30% because they've worked collectively together. They've worked on developing their skills within the companies, but they've also lobbied government as well in terms of reducing tariffs in some of the areas as well. So collectively, that critical mass of a voice is actually a strong evidence base to actually shape and inform things going forward. And I suppose in terms of the green area, it's whether or not even you maybe want to collectively work on the whole opportunity around recycling or on energy costs or whatever other areas of green accreditation that may be relevant to your business. So that's a potential opportunity. I just quickly wanted to give you some examples of real tangible things as well. When we work collectively with companies in Northern Ireland, one of the things that if they've been going together through a phase 2, that they do is they come up with a joint brand. And that's actually given them more visibility in the market. And one of those joint brands that was developed was that of a group of companies who were working in the wind energy sector. And I specifically want to share this one very quickly with you because after 3 months of them going through a scoping study, the evidence for that group of companies wasn't that they were going to go and manufacture parts for the industry that they thought they were going to do, but the evidence from their scoping study was that they potentially could provide an after service in the operation and maintenance side. So within 3 months of doing their scoping study, the evidence they had as a collective, and they actually were a collective who brought international partners on board, were then launched in the US, in Chicago, as the only organisation in the international market that would offer operation and maintenance service. So they went out after 3 months with the collective brand, with the collective website, and they launched themselves with a service offering that they had not, at the beginning of the scoping study, even thought that they would have been doing. So what I would say to you is, what you start off doing collectively, once you go through that experience of a scoping study, isn't necessarily what you end up doing collectively. The other group of companies, in terms of plastics and polymer sector, there's some 72 companies in that network. So although I said you need 4 Northern Ireland companies, the networks vary in size. So from 4 to the plastics and polymer guys, who are 72 companies who have worked collectively together, have leveraged research and development funds collectively, and they are the group of companies that have actually lobbied and reduced their energy costs. So as a larger collective, that is something as well that you can consider doing. And in terms of the IT industry, one of the things that obviously we need are 20,000 IT professionals by 2017. So the employers in the IT industry have set up a collective group to work with government and Dell to actually ensure that we have the right IT skills going forward. And that links both from primary, post-primary, right through to higher education. And it's really important in terms of them attracting a level of skill back into the industry. So again, if there are skills issues that you are maybe considering, then you could collectively consider that as well. I think that's sufficient. I am not going to go through any more, but you can see there is such a variety of collaborative networks out there. There are some 68 collaborations we have supported to date. So there is lessons to be learnt from all of those. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to get in touch with me, please do so. Either phone me or email me. I'm happy to take any questions. Unfortunately, I'm sorry I can't stay around for the question session, so please do feel free to contact me via email.